Da, 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 da. Hello, everybody. I've never done that intro music, but that was fun, and I liked to do it, and so maybe I'll do it again. Hey, I'm Andy from Chainlink Labs, and James Kirkby is here with me from Kitsumon. Hey, James, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good, guys. How you doing?
I'm great. The audience in the comments looks good. Milan says, "This is a great project." All right, on it. Screw in the tuna. This is cool. Great username, tuna. Weird one. And Dan is giving you some like fist bump. You got this. All right. Thanks, Dan. Hey, everybody. We're going to talk about Kitsumon for the next couple of half hour or so. We're going to give people a minute to kind of come in and get settled. People are just popping in right now. So, hey, everybody. I'm Andy from Chainlink Labs, and this is James. Oops, that side. James from Kitsumon. And we're going to talk Kitsumon and NFTs. Okay. Actually, I wanted to start with this for the people in the audience. One, we can see your comments like I showed before, so feel free to chat with us if you have questions. Two, I want to cover a couple of major things. First, what is the platform? What are these NFTs about? What's the game? How does it work? And then second, there's some really interesting ways that Kitsumon team has gone about gas optimization for calling randomization. And so we'll do a little developer-focused segment where we'll talk a bit about that. And then, of course, we'll talk about the NFT space and crypto more broadly. So hello, welcome, everyone. People are piling in now. That's lovely to see. James, how are you feeling this morning? Monday? Are your Slack notifications blowing up? You doing all right? Or
yeah, so usually on the weekend, my phone defaults into silence mode and I don't get any notifications or pings or see how many people are trying to message me. And then Monday morning, first couple of hours is usually responding to the hundreds of messages I get over the weekend. But it's, yeah, apart from that, it's nice. Nice morning here where I am and looking forward to being here.
good. I thought of the killer app on Friday. The killer crypto app will be a search function like Spotlight that just searches Slack, Telegram, Discord, Twitter DMs,
Okay,
like all that. If one could do a good job of that, it would win.
yeah,
Like that's what you
have
need. I just need
everything
a search
involved.
function. That's all
Yeah.
I need.
Well, actually, maybe it doesn't do all of them, but there is an app called Chase, which is a all-encompassing search function. So you can
All
search a
right.
lot of everything from Google Drives to AWS servers. It just hooks into everything and
We're already
and
getting
finds
into the
them.
tips. I love it. Chase.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna look this up. I have one called Alfred that does kind of some okay stuff, but it doesn't look into apps.
Mm.
Anyways, this is off topic. Hey, everybody, we got a bunch of people. My name's Andy from Chainlink Labs. We're talking to James, CTO of Kitsumon or Kitsumon. We're gonna learn about the project. We're gonna learn about some of their technical implementations, and we're gonna talk about a little bit of Chainlink, not too much there. So awesome to have you here, man. Let's get this started. It's Chainlink Live. Welcome to Chainlink Live, NFTs and Gaming. My name is Andy Boyan from Chainlink Labs. I'm here with James Kirkby from Kitsumon. James, we were talking a little bit before the break about all the things we want to cover. I want to start with what is Kitsumon? How does it work? What makes this thing special?
So Kitsumon is a play to earn. Well, it's a game that comprises of three different gameplays. We have the kind of exciting 3D MOBA multi-online battle arena aspect. We have the play to earn what we call professions, which take place in the metaverse, where people will be able to acquire land, use that land for different professions, and through there they will be able to for example, if you have land dedicated for fishing, you would be able to spawn NFT fish. And the idea is that you could, for example, either take the raw materials and sell them in our marketplace and earn a revenue, or you could, for example, combine some of these like base ingredients or base elements and create more complex NFTs. So you could mix together, several different NFTs like wood and metal and this, that, and the other, and produce some sort of like, I don't know, another game item like a saw or a better fishing rod that gives you greater chances. So that's the play to earn profession, and the third style, and the one that's coming out soon, and the one that people are more quite excited about from our community is the breeding. And that's all tied into the INO that we're conducting at the moment, where people will be able to buy these what we call NFT redemption cards. These represent the eggs, the creatures within the Kitsumon world. And then at the end of this quarter, what we will be doing is we will be holding something called the Big Bang event. And the reason why being is that these cards here, these will hatch into some of the 3D models. Well, not some, all of them will hatch into 3D models, and these 3D models will be your in-game characters, and you'll be able to use them within inside of the MOBA. And these are what we call Gen Zero purebreds. So these are, I guess, in terms of like dog, premium breed dogs. These are purebred DNAs. And the idea of the breeding game is that you can take multiple of these kitsus once they've been hatched, and then you can breed them. And what we're developing is a DNA smart contract that again takes in some of Chainlink's technology, such as VRF. And what we do is each one of the kitsus have a set of abilities, so it might be different types of attacks. And how the actual models as well are produced, and maybe I'll share my screen as well.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
How these models are produced is that they are. So, for example, this is a.
Are you ready for me to put it on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
So, for example, this is a example of one of the redemption cards, but we're selling in the INO. Once at the end of this quarter, what we will be doing is we will be doing the 3D reveals, or the 3D swaps, where people can essentially take that egg and then they will be swapping them for another NFT, which is the actual 3D model. And this is one that we've had delivered from our game studio. And what's quite interesting about these models is that each part of this is not a single body mass. All of the stuff like the legs and the heads, the ears and the tails, what they are actually done is they're stitched together by several different components. And what happens during the breeding, we have a DNA contract, and we hook into VRF. And what we do is we randomly select these different body parts from the different models and produce a completely unique, what we call a hybrid kitsu. And it's probably one of the first. We have not seen a project do this yet. We've seen a lot of 2D generative art projects, but what we haven't seen is what we are calling a 3D generative art project. The breeding outcomes are completely random, and you'll actually be able to have an infinite number of these different style hybrids. And the idea being that the way that the breeding works is that there's dominant and recessive genes, and some people might want to have specific types of abilities bred into their kitsus that allow them to battle in the MOBA.
Can you pop open that image again that you had? That one right there. Just
this one
so
here.
People can see that. When people are coming into the stream, they're going to see this and be like, "I'm watching this." So I love this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put this up here. You've mentioned VRF a couple of times. I just want to give people context. That's kind of why we're talking is Chainlink VRF. It's a way to get random numbers, like it's a random number generator, to get them on chain into a smart contract. And so the value of that is these pieces, as they breed and as they change and adjust and get assigned, it's done randomly and in a provable way. There's nobody behind the scenes making sure their buddy gets a good one or that they get a good one or whatever that happens to be.
Yeah, exactly. Or they can influence out kind of the outcome of it, and especially in the first use case, which was the first article that we did with you guys, was specifically regarding how we are distributing the NFTs in the private sale, in the sale in general. a lot of what these NFT projects do is they scoop up all the the rarest ones and dish them out to friends and family and team members, and everyone else gets, stuck with the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole process of minting these NFTs as well has taken advantage of your technology, so that everyone knows who are purchasing are getting a truly random assigned one, and not just something that we're trying to pass off to people. So it's been quite a good way we found of conducting this in a fair and transparent way.
Yeah, this is great. For the developers, yeah, we've got Romain dropping some links down there if you want to learn more about VRF. We're going to dig more into the background of the gaming and all this. So if you're here for the gaming side of things and not the developer side, just hold tight for a sec. But I do want to dig in a little bit on VRF, because the announcement blog post you guys did when you said we've used Chainlink VRF for this, I read it, and there was a lot about optimizing gas. So VRF, if you do it on Ethereum, you have to deal with Ethereum gas costs, which are just significant, right? That's just a fact of EVM life and on layer one. But you guys came up with this method of doing VRF calls elsewhere for cheaper and then bringing them back and doing in this way. Can you talk a little bit about that for developers who are here wondering, like, how do I optimize gas costs when I'm setting up my NFT mint?
Yes, so what we was trying to do is to not only, well, what we was trying to do in a single transaction was to call the VRF, the VRF SDK or Solidity file that was provided as part of the integration software, as well as doing the minting in the same function, just for kind of keeping it simple. But we found that as some of you may know, the EVM has a limit of how much gas can be used per block. We found that trying to do all of that one in a single call, we would always hit that gas limit. So what we decided to do was essentially split the two functions up. That was first to request the randomness from the VRF, and then use that randomness inside of another transactional input back to the contract, that would allow us to verify the randomness again, but also then continue on to do the minting. And the minting is not just a straightforward mint in our case. Again, to do with the fair distribution of the NFTs, what we did was we for keeping the math simple, say for example we had 20,000 eggs in private sale and we had two partners. What we wanted to do is make sure that each partner, depending on how many NFTs were based on the rarity in the entire population, we had to make sure that they both had an equal chance of getting these. So the minting wasn't just a plain call mint function. We had to then also take into consideration, right, this is coming from this pool, and this is their population in relation to the larger population of each individual character. So there was some quite expensive gas operations, but essentially what we ended up doing was getting the randomness first. That's then already on the blockchain. We're returning it to our UI, storing it in some local storage, and then having to have another request that goes out. Again, just double checks the signature on the VRF, and then continue down with our more complex minting logic. And we've trying to, wherever possible, optimize gas where we can use mappings instead of arrays and all the other kind of basic stuff. But yeah, in this case, due to the way we approached it, we had to essentially split it out into two calls, and then marry that back up into the UI.
I've got Dan in the chat asking a couple of good questions. Dan, I'll address your first question, not directly, but what is the cost to call VRF and who pays it? The answer is it depends. So the project usually, the owner of the smart contract usually pays that cost. When somebody is minting, the gas submitted is a part of that. And so that it's based on the calculation. What is the cost? Well, it depends on the chain, and it depends on the cost of gas at the time and all that. So really, to get at your question, I'm going to direct you to our documentation. Romain, can you find the documentation link to Chainlink VRF and direct you to the Chainlink Discord? The developer Discord will have DevRel experts in there to kind of walk you through if you're doing a project itself.
I think from my understanding, we've got to fill our contracts with some link in there that pays for the actual calls to the oracles, and then the end user themselves will only be paying for the gas cost to the transaction, not to Chainlink.
Right.
We absorb the link costs on our side.
So you fill the contract with some link, and that is going to
Yeah,
pay the VRF operator.
oracles. Yeah,
And those
exactly.
oracles, they've got to do some transactions on chain. That's why you're paying them in link to reimburse them
Yeah,
for their gas costs on
yeah,
their side.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
there's a few different layers there, Dan, and you can dig into the documentation for more specifics there. You have another good question here that I do want to address. Do you retrieve a single random number or multiples per call? My understanding is a VRF returns a really long string, and you can use different segments of that for different pieces of randomization.
Yes, exactly. So we have a 256-bit byte space, which is what we call our DNA, and that is actually the randomness supplied from the Chainlink's VRF. And then what we do is we have segments within that 256 byte integer that represent body parts, colors, attacks, and abilities. So you can imagine chunking it up into 4 bytes, 8 bytes, whatever, and they will that 256-bit integer will be then assigned to certain areas. So we have one random number, and then we take chunks out of that and assign it to what is the physical model, and then they act as the genes, and they can be passed down into the offspring hybrid kitsus.
Great questions. And there's a bunch more great questions. I see your questions. We're having a technical talk, and so I will get to these other cool questions as well. A bunch of people have joined us. So, hey, everybody, I'm Andy from Chainlink Labs. I'm talking to James from Kitsumon. We just went through the project and took a look at these really interesting creatures, talked about their mint, the different 3D model components, and their sort of generative nature. You're very welcome, Dan. And then we started getting into a little bit about using VRF and gas optimizing for random number generators. And then Dan had some questions, and so we got into that. If you want more details on how they optimize for gas costs, I highly recommend you check out the blog post, the announcement blog post. Roman, if you can find it, Google Chainlink Kitsumon announcement, and it'll pop up. If it's not in the description, I might have put it in there. But they do actually a really nice technical breakdown with code snippets too, of like, here's how we did that. So please do that. I want to turn a little bit back towards the gaming side. It's clear that you guys have a gaming background. It's not just play to earn. Like, it has crafting and it has worlds. It feels a little bit like, what's that game? It feels like a lot of games, honestly. What are some of the games that kind of inspire you that you feel like this should feel like when you're actually playing it?
Well, I mean, we're at that age of being 90s kids, right? So we grew up on Pokemon and the whole love of trading cards and all that kind of thing. So, I mean, there is obviously a massive influence of Pokemon inside of the game, but also stuff like Roblox, Minecraft, some of these kind of like sandbox metaverses. As well as like the MOBA aspects of like Axie Infinity and some of the other guys who are doing this stuff. But what we found was that in some cases they were focusing mainly on one thing or another, and that really does limit your kind of like audience of gamers. Really, if people aren't interested in MOBA, then there's nothing else for them. So we try to offer different gameplays, but not just completely, building 3 separate games. Like I say, that each one of the professions and the gameplays play into the wider ecosystem, right? So, you could be a breeder trying to breed desired Kitsumon for people who are playing in the MOBA. But then once your animal is damaged or your Kitsu is damaged in the MOBA, you might then need to go back into the professions and either buy potions to restore itself, or you may want to invest in some land and all the rest of it to be able to create your potions. So we've tried to make 3 different distinct game types, but interweave them all into and that's why we call it the metaverse. It's like one big economy that is flowing around and has a purpose. It's not just, hey, let's do this idea, and this idea, and not really bridge them together kind of thing.
Yeah, arcades are fun. You go play one game and then you play another game. But that's a different thing. That's cool. Has anyone played Star Ocean? Do you remember this game, Star Ocean? Audience, help me out. There's a bunch of you. There's got to be some nerds out there. Star Ocean, I don't think very many people played it because it was so deep on the crafting. It had thousands of items. It was on PlayStation or something. 90s kids. Anyways, I'm reminiscing. I was bad at it because I couldn't get all the pieces. A crafting game, but yet this crafting component it had me thinking of these, old Square Enix games and stuff where you do a ton of crafting, Warcraft and all that sort of stuff. So we got some other good questions.
Warcraft is
Clearly a great part of this as well. I'm going to go back to the top because we had a good question. In terms of your relationships and partners, like who are you working with? What are the other sorts of adjacent projects in the space besides us and integrations that you're working with?
Well, in terms of partnerships, we have focused on we've got two kind of strategies here for partnerships in terms of helping us grow. So the first one is we partnered with several gaming guilds. So we partnered with Metagaming Guild and Good Gaming Guild, and we're in the process of partnering with another gaming guild at the moment. The idea with the gaming guilds, if people aren't aware of them, is that usually what they build out is like tutorial or scholarship programs. And what they do is they have certain people onboarded per month, and they teach them how to play the game, and give them a few free NFTs and resources. And what they do is they teach them how to play to essentially make a profit, right? So Asian markets for play to earn games are becoming one of the biggest markets, just because people can play Axie Infinity and plant virtual rice and make more than they would actually grow in real rice. So a lot of them partnerships in the gaming guilds we're focusing on Asian markets. But in the wider sense, again, going back to the professions, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find metaverses and projects that have certain synergies within our professions. So one metaverse that we're partnered with, and there's going to be more news coming out with this week, is OneRare.io. And they are a food metaverse, and they've done a very good job of onboarding lots of these kind of like Michelin star chefs. And it's all about people who can farm items and then create recipes out of them and sell them to different people, which is kind of pretty much a like for like of our mini professions and farming that I was talking about earlier, right? You could grow items, assemble them together, and then sell them as recipes to people who have restaurants or whatever. So we've got that partnership coming up, and we'll be doing some collab NFTs with them, where they kind of bring in some of their designs into our world and some of ours into their world. And that's the first big one that we're going to be announcing, but we've got a few more of them in the pipeline in terms of
OneRare integrated with Chainlink for VRF at the end of last year as well. I was like, I know that name. So I've definitely seen that announcement as well. I don't think I've talked to them, but maybe we'll.
Very nice guys. Yeah, you should try and get them on board. Yeah.
Will do. I'm scanning through some of these questions as well. If I missed your question, go ahead and drop it again because I'm trying to catch up here. Oh, Monkey Coder, your question is, well, might be over my head. James, let's give it a try, shall we? I don't know if it has to do with Kitsumon. Is it possible to make dynamic NFTs? Yes. To reflect changes based on real-time IoT sensor data? Yes, that's possible. Without incurring expensive gas fees? Well, the answer is probably going to be it depends on what network you bring your data on. That's what I would guess, Monkey Coder.
Yeah. James? I would say so. Is it possible to make dynamic NFTs that change in real time on this? I would say yes, for sure. I mean, there's a bit of a kind of internal argument or discussion, and a discussion as there always is in the crypto world about what is the right and wrong. There's a firm camp of people that believe the metadata, which is all of the traits associated with that NFT, should be immutable, and they should be immutable on something like IPFS. The other camp say that you perfectly fine using a centralized API to serve out this metadata. In this case, I would say that if you had a centralized metadata API where you could make the changes, you could use something like a Chainlink Oracle to take in IoT sensor data and update them dynamic attributes on the NFT according to whatever algorithm that whatever the use case or the product is. Based on the algorithm, you could definitely change them attributes, and I think it would quash any of the idea that if you could prove your technology and have it audited or be open source, that that the only way that people could really do this was from the outcome of Chainlink. And as was said, expensive gas fees unfortunately are limited to Ethereum at this moment in time. But the good thing, I guess, Chainlink have been doing is they've been very aggressively going out and offering this kind of Chainlink on multiple chains, especially
every blockchain. That's what we're shooting for. Every chain.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Monkey Coder. The keyword you're looking for in the Chainlink documentation is external adapters. External adapters let you go and get data from anywhere, API or whatever, on the webhooks, and bring that in and get it on chain. And a lot of projects are already doing that with sports data. So like they'll go and they'll have a trading card of a player, and then when that player's data changes, they score points or whatever it is, their NFT, their trading card will dynamically change. It'll update. So like what James is talking about is, well, okay, so that data is not on chain. That's coming from the Associated Press or whatever sports data site. So what the Chainlink adapter lets you do is it lets you show provenance. Here's for sure where that data came from. So maybe it's not decentralized source, because sports scores, like, that's not a decentralized thing. We have really good record keeping of that. Those you can at least see, well, here's the attestation of where it came from. So that's the way around that. And again, as for gas fees, exactly as James said there, depends on where you go to every chain. Go ahead.
Yeah. We did have a bit of an idea during one of our kind of like idea sessions about how we could use other oracles, and one quite interesting one was the idea of taking weather data from an oracle feed and then using that to affect the in-game timers about how quick crops could be produced, right? So if it was particularly rainy, maybe for some reason you might produce more. If it's dry, produce less. We've not made a final decision on that, but there's lots of kind of these use cases that you can use to affect the outcomes of NFTs, I think, as well. Definitely
put it on the roadmap. I love it. We've got weather adapters already people are using for Chainlink, decentralized insurance, and all sorts of reasons. Hey, we got to get Monkey Coder to go and like build this at a hackathon and then bring it to your project, right? Like, you guys can integrate.
Definitely come and find us in the Telegram. Yeah, we're always looking for good talent. So if you want to find us on Telegram, and we'll get talking.
Mustafa asks, what's the correlation between your project and Chainlink? We were talking a little bit before about RNG, so a random number generator. When you want to do randomness, but you need to do that on chain, you need to get it confirmed by the blockchain. You have to use secure randomness. You don't want anybody tampering with that or using something that's actually not random, or something that can be messed with. And so that's what Chainlink VRF is. It's a secure random number generator, and it submits those random numbers on chain in a provably secure manner. So that's how, like, the announcement, that's how Kitsumon is using Chainlink now. And then they're using Chainlink VRF for a bunch of other DNA related and breeding things in the future as well.
Yeah.
And then maybe weather data, who knows? We'll get him excited. Yeah. Now he's excited about that.
Definitely.
Dude, I got off on all these questions. So our conversation, like, no, I'm not even checking it because I had questions written down, but this has just been cool. It's been nice hanging out, learning about gaming, your guys' perspective on that. Oh, what's with the graphics? They're amazing. Can you share your screen again and show these off? Because
yeah, sure.
Really fantastic graphics. Who does those? What's the inspiration behind this?
I can go I can go through all of this with you. So I'll give you a first this set of ones. So what we do is we start off with the. Are you okay to see this? Yeah.
Yeah. Looks great.
Yeah. So what we do is we start off working with one of our designers who's essentially a concept artist. So he works with Kane, who's the CEO and co-founder as well. This has been his like kind of baby, so to speak, for the last 5 years, taking various forms. And we got together this year to start it. And what happened was initially we worked with a concept artist to kind of design specific kitsus based on elements in our game lore. And what the art process is that usually we would get a 2D concept art sketch drawing like this, that would then be colored and finalized into a single flat 2D image. And these are probably, if you are following Kitsumon on Twitter, you'll have seen over the last couple of months we've been revealing a lot of this 2D artwork. These two art, a lot of these are inspired. The actual look of the Kitsumon inside have been inspired by the eggs. The eggs were always done first. And what we did is we assigned like a type to them. So in this case, it's mania and dark, and it's kind of similar to, I guess, Pokemon, where you have fire, water, grass types. They have abilities over each one. And then what happens is once we have this 2D, this 2D concept art, what we then do is we pass it on to Ada. Ada is a visual effects company, and they've worked with, check out their website. It's the amount of games that you have played and they've worked on is unreal. So they're a fantastic company to work with. The next step in the process after getting the 2D art is to do what they call a ortho. And that basically takes this 2D art and does it from every single perspective, which basically allows the 3D modeler to then understand this is obviously the front side of it, but this is how it should look from the back and the side, and they can get to work on building the 3D aspect of this. So that is one that's in progress. So carry on from again we've got the Ferreira here, which again following the same suit. If it opens up, again we started from an egg to some concept art, and then during this modeling process, Ada provides what they call a LOD, which is just the kind of untextured map of how the 3D creature should look. And this gives us time to kind of refine the body parts and make sure that it's as we kind of intended. The next stage after that is to do all the texturing and the coloring. So we get two renders, a primary high res, what we call a high poly, which is what will be displayed mainly on the web and on the screen. And then we have a low poly, which is for games, mainly due to just the computation of high poly is a lot more to render. So we have a high poly and low poly version. And yeah, as I said, these are all put together kind of like this with the breeding. The next step after this is what we actually then do is, I'm very new to game development. Like I say, I've worked a lot in fintech, so I've learned a lot.
This
about
is fantastic.
Roman
is talking in the chat, like, yeah, we get to see this whole process. It's awesome to learn. Like, and this also reveals, like, why do games take a long time? Like, you gotta do a lot. Like, there's a lot to get things animated and to get them right and to get them looking good. And
well, yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying. Once by the time we get these 3D body parts, the journey by no means is over. What we then have to do is we have to get a animator who designs a skeleton. You won't see it on this, but they have a skeleton that represents all the ligatures and the joints, so that they can actually move around and pose and do all their attacks. And again, this is quite a complex process, right? Because we have all these different body parts, and we have to make sure that the animations work well when they get stitched together. So you take it from a drawing like this to having a 3D rendered model that is actually alive and can walk it's a long process, but when you see it at the end, it's a very satisfying thing to kind of finally see, right?
What's crazy about this is not only is it just walking, is it animated and walking, but the different body parts are different components of NFTs. Like those are, stamped on the chain those are
Yeah.
individual items. They have provenance. It's just a fascinating take on this gaming genre that we can now do in this digital era.
Mm.
And we're trying something new, experimenting, and I can't applaud you enough for that. We are running up on time, so I want to thank our audience so much for their questions. If you have more, you're gonna have to go to the Kitsumon Telegram and ask them there. But James, before we take off, give us a little snapshot. What's the roadmap look like? What are timelines? You don't have to give us anything specific. I never ask CTOs for specific timelines. I know better. But in general, like, what are you guys planning on releasing in coming months?
We always try to keep it to quarters. We are ahead of schedule currently on our roadmap, but yeah, keeping it to quarters is always the best because you don't know what might happen. But yeah, so by the end of this quarter, well, the first, I'll give you some very specific key dates coming up to start with. Today, NFT Stars, one of our partners and our backers, very highbrow NFT platform. They're conducting one of our final private round sales, and then on the next part of the INO will start on Thursday, the 9th to the 10th, which is the final private sale. And that's first come, first serve, where you can buy these mystery boxes that are using the VRF system. And then what we will be doing is we'll be doing a public sale on our own Kitsumon marketplace from the 10th of February to the 24th of February. In the longer term roadmap after the INO, well, first of all, the team are going to take a week's break because we've kind of been non-stop on this for the last since probably October, doing all this crazy stuff. So we'll take a week downtime, and then what the real work begins is starting the profession, finishing up the DNA and the breeding smart contracts for the deliverable of this quarter. And we're already starting work on the land acquisition and the play to earn gameplay as well. So as I said, that will be released around Q2. And then the MOBA game as well will be released in Q4. And these are, again, just all stages. We need to have the breeding done first, and we need to supply the kitsies for the MOBA. We need professions to do the other parts of the MOBA. So it's a staggered launch, and so this year.
Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Make sure you stop
next year.
Make sure you stop at vacation at some point too. Don't. Right, you gotta take a breather there.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, it's been awesome to get to know you, to hang out, to get to know Kitsumon, and to your community. There's so many people who have come in. Awesome to have your questions here. James, let's stay in touch. If you go to events, make sure you stop by Chainlink events. We'll meet and we'll do some more stuff together as you guys release more. We'll have you on again and talk. Does that sound good, man?
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I will talk to you later. Everyone else, hang around. One sec, because you've got to go join communities. There's a bunch of links down below. Join the Kitsumon Telegram, Discord, the websites, the Twitters, the whatever's there, and follow Chainlink. Join Chainlink communities as well. We've got the Discord for more developer types, but all sorts of stuff going on there. And then Twitter, Chainlink at Chainlink on Twitter is where like official big information comes out. At @smart_contract is where a lot of information comes out about events like these. So developer events, AMAs, those sorts of things. And then you can also follow at Chainlink Labs to get information about Chainlink Labs as an organization, the company, one of the companies putting together, working on the Chainlink protocol. Thanks, Romain, for hanging out and being a great mod in the gang. And again, thank you all so much for joining. This was an awesome AMA. Yeah, Yoji, you're right. Like that was a good one. I do a lot of these, and they're all pretty good, but like this is a really good one. Anyways, I'm Andy. It's nice to talk to you guys. Come back tomorrow. Like and subscribe, because tomorrow we have. All right, I'm gonna look this up. 1 second, I got time. We're talking to Alliance Block. That's a big DeFi project. They're really excited. Their community's huge. That's going to be a banger of an AMA tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern as well. And then every Monday and Tuesday, we're trying to do these AMAs, and we're pretty good at getting those. So please like and subscribe and come back for more. Thank you again for your hanging out. I appreciate you being here. Peanut says goodbye. See you guys next time. Whoops. Wrong.